Now, for the show that brings combat sports stories to life from the great state of Ohio, this is Forged in Ohio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 53 of Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren, and I'm the host of the podcast. This is officially the first episode to drop in year 2 of Forged in Ohio, and it's pretty special that we recently reached 5,000 total downloads, and it's been pretty special to see this growth of Forged in Ohio in just a year's time. I know it's only up from here in year number 2 with the support I'm getting from all of you, the Ohio combat sports fans. So for all of that and more, thank you very, very much. Now for today's guest, though, what you actually came here for, he wrapped up his amateur career on September 16th with a decision win in the co-main event of a Nightmare Promotions card, improving his record to 6-4, but now that record for this strong style product gets wiped as he signed a contract for his pro debut with Cage Thunder for December 16th inside the Canton Civic Center. It's Charles Oneway Manson Payne. Charles, thanks for joining me on the show, and welcome to Forged in Ohio, man.
What's going on, man? How's it going?
It's going well, man. I always appreciate fighters joining me, so the same here, man. Before we get into that pro contract, what it means to you and all that stuff, I want to reflect on your time as an amateur fighter. You're coming off a win last month. That was your first in MMA in over a year with that layoff. How good did it feel to get back in there and pick up a win?
It felt amazing to finally get back in the cage, cause after my last fight last July, I was trying to just rack up a bunch of grappling, just trying to compete every jiu-jitsu match I could. But then, of course, that comes with risks, and I paid for it because I got my knee popped back in last October, and then finally coming back in September, it felt amazing to finally get back in the cage again, because it was just like this misery, just like recovering, and then finally getting back in there, it was like, man, I loved it.
Were you confident after the knee injury that you would be able to recover right and get back in the cage after, recovering from the injury?
I know for a fact I was getting back in there. Whether my leg was put together with the sewing needles, I was going to put it back together and get back in there. I had to get back, at least to just make my pro debut. At least for that, I knew for sure, I'm getting back in the cage regardless of how it got to happen. I knew that for sure.
In terms of the severity of the injury, is that the worst you've had competing, or have there been worse?
Competing, yeah, that's the worst I've had. But I had lingering injuries in that same knee from before that I didn't even know about until this one. Because once I got this one, it was so bad that I had to go get an MRI, and then they were just like, "Hey, you've been had issues in here that you might not known about." But then, hey, it is what it is now.
Did you ever notice it affecting you inside the cage in your amateur fights, or even in the grappling competitions? Did you notice your knee was bugging you at all?
It's been kind of creaky for years, but it never really hindered anything. I was still able to move and stuff like that. But now it's just, after doing all of this rehab and stuff like that, it's better than it's ever been. And now I'm training smarter. I don't practice without knee pads no more.
Yeah, for sure. So
it forced me to be smart.
Yeah, definitely. So when you make your return to the cage, were there any nerves going into it, knowing that you're coming off that injury, like receiving leg kicks or messing with it in any way? Did you have any nerves of impacting it one way or another?
Andrew tore my leg up. It's he knew. He was kicking the hell out of my leg. But I knew it was gonna be some hurdles to get over, just as far. But I was glad after he hit me with the first leg kick. It was like, okay, all right, it's stable. That's all I was worried about, was it being stable. And then when he shot his first shot, and I had to twist it and turn it, okay, I'm good. I had nothing to worry about after that. But leading up, I was like, oh, Jesus, man, I hope I can, because it wasn't taped up or nothing. So it's just it was some nerves, but hey, it paid off.
Yeah, it did, man. Did you feel any cage rust on September 16th, or did you feel good going in there and going to the distance?
Definitely some rust. That's why I wanted to, because I planned on making my pro debut last year, but once I got hurt, I was like, all right, maybe not yet. And I wanted to take a fight before that, so I wouldn't have cage rush going into my pro debut. I wanted to like at least get it all knocked off in this last, like take one more amateur fight and then be like, okay, boom, we got that out the way, and now I'm about to go pro with it now. But it was definitely like mental mistakes, like not as much as like my physical movement, but like mental mistakes. Where I was like, why are you doing that? Or watching the fight back, like, why did you do? What are you doing? Like so. Definitely stuff is going when I actually have my pro debut. It's gonna be things that didn't happen in there. But.
So going into that fight, you knew that it would absolutely be your last amateur fight. The pro debut was coming right after.
100%.
Looking back,
no doubt.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm excited for the pro debut, and we'll get to it here in just a minute. Looking back on your time as an amateur fighter, though, from 2018 to 2023, excuse me, what would you say you learned most about yourself, and what I'm sure was one hell of a journey?
Resilience, because my actual amateur career started in 2018, but I've been training on and off. Like I took my first steps in the strong style back in 2011, but then like I got hurt way back when. Like I hurt myself way back when because I started off boxing, but I wasn't like a boxer, but I was like training at a little boxing gym. Well, yeah, a little boxing gym over on 105 called Corey's. I don't even think it exists no more. But that was back in 2010. But then I transitioned to MMA back in 2011. Like my little cousin had came to me and like start getting me all into martial arts in general, like as a whole. So then, man, it was just super into like. I used to walk around and tell everybody I was Thai back when I was back then. I used to perm my hair and stuff, and then so it could be straight as I could tell everybody I was in Thailand. But then I got like super into martial arts as a whole, and then that's when I started wanting to do MMA, and then that's when I. And then when I got there, I was training, but I realized, like, I don't know how to grapple at all. But I was like, forget it. My striking good enough, but it wasn't. I had just started. And then got hurt, and then started getting jobs that wouldn't allow me to go to practice. And then, of course, the coaches weren't going to work with me back then because I was a nobody just coming in there. So, of course, they ended up having to make concessions for me at that point. And then years and years later, then I moved to North Carolina when I joined the military, and then that's when I had my first fight down there. But just perseverance through all of it. Like, I'm gonna fight. Like, I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what age it starts, how many years it takes. I'm gonna fight regardless of what it takes.
Yeah, sounds like there's been some up and downs in the journey as well. How old were you when your cousin actually roped you in to this combat sports journey?
19.
19 years old. How aware of the sport were you back then? Did you kind of know of mixed martial arts? Were you watching, or was this something brand new to you?
I knew of it. Like, I was watching and stuff, and I had but I was a casual at that point. Like, I didn't really know the sport. Like, I didn't know the in-depth of grappling or in-depth of wrestling or what's needed and what, like, I just knew, hey, I just want to compete. Like, that just fueled me, and I never stopped after that.
When you first started, were you immediately addicted to the sport, or were there times when you were potentially in and out and had a different type of relationship with mixed martial arts?
Nah, it was always 100% go. Like, but also when I was younger, I was just like, I was into a lot of partying and stuff too, so I didn't really even know. I ain't have like a mentor, like to tell me like, hey, yo, you can't be getting drunk on every weekend, and then going trying to train and not drinking no water, eating fast food. Like I had no guidance, so I was just gung ho. Hey, I'm gonna go be a fighter, not doing anything right. So it was like, but then eventually, once 2018 came around, I was old enough to be like, okay, there's a. Then at that point, I finally figured it out. But never was I like, yeah, I might be done with this. I don't want to do this no more. Or this is too hard. Like, that was never a thing. Especially because the whole reason I mainly wanted to get into combat sports as a whole, boxing or anything in the first place. It was like, because growing up, I got bullied and stuff a lot, being a tall, lanky, strange being kid. And then, so when I got into training and stuff, it was like, okay, never again will I get bullied by anybody. Inside the cage, outside the cage, anything of the sort. So it was never a time after that where I was like, maybe I'll be done. Like,
Did you ever have to use those skills you learned in the gym against guys who bullied you?
no, like I haven't been in a fight since I learned how to fight. Not a single one besides in the gym. Like, but if you ask anybody at my gym, I'm like the biggest sweetheart. Like, you're not gonna ever see me get malicious, angry, like yelling at nobody. Like, I just like competing. I got kind of like the whole Goku appeal. Like, that's kind of like my.
Yeah.
Vegeta's my favorite, but I act more like Goku.
Yeah, I think I get that vibe too, just looking at like the pictures you take in the gym with your teammates. Everybody puts a fist up or something and you're just happy to be there and you put up some funny poses, and I kind of feel that vibe from you know?
Yeah.
So when you back in you were 19 years old, kind of a casual in the game, then you get more into it. Did you look up to any fighters or wrestlers growing up that inspired you to continue on and maybe replicate your game after them in a way or two?
Then my favorite sport combat athlete period was Roy Jones Jr. Like, he always been my favorite all around everything. And then Floyd Mayweather back then, and then my favorite MMA fighter was back then it was Andre Arlovski for some reason. I don't even, their styles don't even replicate. But like, I used to love Andre Arlovski. But yeah, that's who Roy Jones Jr. always been my like all time favorite combat athlete though.
Yeah, for sure, man. How much experience do you have in boxing as, the sport itself?
0 boxing matches.
0 boxing matches.
Yeah, just training. Like,
Is it ever something you wanted to try or not really?
I do, but it was just like, I didn't want it to start getting in the way, and then like, I wanted to grapple because I knew that was my Achilles heel in MMA. So it was just like, do I want to dibble and dabble and just try stuff out, or am I trying to be the best fighter I could be? So then it just fell on the wayside.
Sure. Talking to Charlie Oneway Manson Payne on Forged in Ohio. With your amateur career, you had 3 submission wins, but none by knockout. Are you still craving your first knockout win in mixed martial arts in your career?
I am to an extent. Everybody get on me about that. Friends and everything get on me like, dude, why are you chasing submissions? Like, even in that last fight, like, even if you watch it, I was chasing the submission the whole fight. Like, instead of even throwing shots that I seen was there, I was just like, nah. I seen in his last fight, he made this mistake. I'm going to get him to make that mistake, and I'm going to submit him. When it was like, he couldn't really hit me standing up, but I was just like, nah, I'm going to get this submission. Like, I cruise around and put my back on the fence on purpose to try to make him shoot, and he wasn't falling for it, and I still was going for it. Now, even when I got the armbar in the second round, it was like, and I kept chasing the armbar, like going to my back on purpose just to try to get an armbar. Like, but I should have been going for the knockout because I was a better striker, but I wanted a submission so bad. But I'm kind of turning my mentality a little bit because if I keep chasing submissions, I'm not gonna get them no more.
Do you have a favorite win, a favorite fight in your amateur career? You had 10 fights, a couple submissions. One of them stick out among the others?
Well, it had to be my second fight. Like, when I fought Kyle Wright, that was definitely my favorite fight because that's when I actually knew, like, okay, I could do this. Because I had first met Kyle when I had my first fight. When I had my first fight, it was me making my amateur debut at 185. And he had just fought his 6th fight for the light heavyweight title for the same organization, Spartacus, back then. And then that was in April. Yeah, that was in April. And then in June, me and him had actually met, and I was talking to him I was like, I'm thinking about going down to 170. He was like, yeah, I'm thinking about going to 185. Like, we were just randomly talking backstage. And then me and him fought that August. But before that, like, I was preparing to go to 170, so I was losing weight, trying to like, cause I didn't even know how to cut weight, so I was just losing weight, dieting, and taking laxatives and stuff. So, so then I was just trying to get down to 170, and then my coach, well, then the fight had got canceled at 170, and it's like, hey, we got a guy that's coming down to 85. We got Kyle Wright for you, and I was like, I just met him. He cool dude, and I was like, he big as hell though. I take it. Oh yeah, I take it. And then, but his record was 3-3 at the time, and I was like, okay, he's a 7th fight. Like that's a lot of fights going on this 7th fight. It's gonna be my 2nd fight. He just fought for the 205 belt. I just made my debut. And then me and him went all 3 rounds, and I won the 1st round. He won the 2nd. Then we had a close 3rd round, but he pulled out the decision. But I was like, and stepped down there as an amateur, like everything goes in Virginia. So it was punches, kicks, knees, elbows to the head, all of that. And after that fight, I was like, I can do this. Like I'm actually good. And my heart and everything, is intact. Like, cause I ate a lot of elbows in that 2nd round, like a lot. And then still made it to the 3rd round and still was able to fight the whole 3rd round out. So, and I dropped him in the 3rd too. So I was like, okay, yeah, I can fight. Like, yeah, I'm like that.
So 5 years later, tell me you're not still using laxatives to cut weight anymore.
Hell no. I got to figure it out. Nah.
Sounds
and I'm
good.
just going back to 170. Like, so I'm actually at 170 welterweight now. So yeah I got to figure it out.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say your favorite fight is the 2nd of your career. It's a loss on your record, but like you said, you learned that, hey, I can actually do this and compete in mixed martial arts for a living. I thought you were going to say your amateur title win at Clash at the Casino in 2022.
Yeah, it was a pretty easy win. Like, it wasn't like, because I do like to fight. Like, as much as I'm not a fighter or a bully or like or an aggressive person really at all, but I like to fight. Like, and I always wanted to have that kind of fight. Even win or lose, I always wanted to have that kind of fight. And even when I fought Taiwan Steels, that was a fun fight too. Like both 2 losses, but 2 of my favorite fights really.
Did winning the amateur title mean much to you? I've talked to some fighters, they don't really think much of it, and other fighters, they really put a lot of weight into winning those titles.
It mainly meant something to me just to say, like, okay, I did put something on the mantle before I went pro. Like, I did want to have, like, some type of title, like, before I did go pro. So it definitely, it means something to me. It's put up in my man cave, so it got to mean something.
There you go, man. Now, something I'm excited to talk to you about is this pro contract that you signed last week with Cage Thunder. It goes down on December 16th from the Canton Civic Center. First and foremost, how did all this really come together?
After the fight, I took 2 weeks off, went back to the gym. My coach was like, hey, so we going pro now? And I said, yep. And then he came back like a week later with an opponent, and I didn't even hesitate to say yes. I barely looked him up before I said yes.
Is it weird now that your contract or your record is wiped, you're now 0-0 starting this brand new journey as a professional mixed martial artist?
It is nice to have a fresh start and just the title. Like, that title just means a lot to me just in general, just because, like, okay, I'll be a pro fighter. Like, because I don't take that lightly, because a lot of people just look at it like, whatever, he's pro. But, like, I've technically be considered a pro athlete, which I always wanted to be since I was a kid. Like, I used to want to be a football player, and I used to want to be a boxer, and I used to now MMA fight. But somehow I made it to be a pro athlete, whatever it took to get there in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, like, and my opponent, he looked like a pretty solid fighter too. So it looked like it could possibly be another good fight. So that excites me too.
Yeah, this is a big step in your career. Are you allowed to announce your opponent yet? I know Cage Thunder hasn't made it official quite yet on their social media and stuff like that, but are you allowed to say who you're actually fighting against on December 16th?
I ain't been told otherwise.
All right.
The guy named Nate Davies, he's been fighting forever. Like, but he only got 11 fights. He's 7-4 currently.
Oh.
Yeah.
So a very experienced pro fighter, right?
Well, no, he was 7-4 as an amateur.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So he's making his pro debut as well against you.
Yeah, but he's been fighting since like 2011, which was, I was like, what in the world? Like, what you been doing all this time? But I understand. It was the same thing.
Interesting.
He just was fighting the whole time, and when I stepped in the gym for the first time, I was out the gym. So I kind of the same path, except his fights weaned down like in the middle, and I just didn't have none in the beginning, leading up. So we kind of took the same path almost. He didn't fought some, and he fought some pretty good guys too. Like he fought one of my teammates, AJ Dobson, like 2012. So
yeah, and AJ obviously in the UFC now, so that's a big opponent there.
Yeah. So he didn't been in there with some guys.
For sure. So in terms of just turning pro and going on this journey, what are you looking forward to more now that you are a pro mixed martial artist? No more limitations in terms of what strikes you can actually throw in fights, or no more same-day weigh-ins in the state of Ohio?
Yeah, living up here now, is that same-day weigh-ins, I got tired of that quick. Like that, I got tired of that real quick. But mainly just not having to think about it no more. Like, no matter what state I'm in, I can do whatever I want to do. And I got it coming back at me. So I got to actually, like, just becoming a better fighter. Like, I just want to be the best fighter I could be. Like, I want to see how far I could take it. Like, I want to know what I got in me. I want to test myself to the full extent. Like, I ain't going back down from no opponent. If ever somebody tell you that they had a fight against me and I pulled out, that's a lie. If anything, my coaches would tell me not to take it, but I'm not turning down nobody. Because if you can step on the scale and weigh the same amount that I weighed the day before the fight, I'll fight you. I don't care who you are. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to testing myself. Like I'm looking forward to all the tests. Like that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I love that approach to the fight game. The fight on the 16th, though, goes down in the Canton Civic Center, and that venue can hold more than 5,000 people. I'm assuming that's more than any venue you've competed in your amateur career. How exciting is that you'll be fighting in front of that type of crowd?
It's close. My
first
3, I fought at the ODU at the basketball arena down there in Virginia Beach. Down in Virginia Beach. Like I said, but except here, like, well, down there, I ain't have a big crowd. Like, I always brought like 4 or 5 people. So it wasn't like, it was a giant crowd, but it wasn't like my crowd. But being here, like, it might be 50 or 60 of my own people in the crowd. So that I'm definitely looking forward to that. Like and even just having my fans, friends, whoever, like getting that experience to see me fight in that kind of venue. Like, I think that'd be sweet. Because when my friends did it back when I was in Virginia, when I fought down there in that big venue down there, like every time somebody came in there and watched me fight, they had a good time. So I'm looking forward to that.
Is there any extra pressure on you when you do have that many friends and loved ones in attendance for your fights?
To an extent, but like, it's all just beforehand. Like, because before every fight, I'm terrified. I've never been backstage for any fight and not been terrified, like, every time. But I look forward to being terrified because it's like, okay, now I gotta go be brave. Now I gotta go face the demons. Now I gotta go beat the bully. Like, I have to go do that now because I'm scared. So, like, pressure, because it's only been one fight that I didn't feel no pressure, and I was just like, I guess somebody just go do this, whatever. And then the only fight I got finished. My entire time I've been fighting, the only time I got finished when I didn't feel no nerves and I wasn't scared. So I like to keep a healthy, like, fear and nerves, and like having a crowd of people that's actually there to watch me, it definitely intensifies it. But once the door closes, like, all that stuff drowns out anyway. Like, as soon as the cage door closes, all you hear is your coaches. You might hear the crowd, like, but this mumbo jumbo, you don't really know what they're saying.
Something else that I'm sure makes this pro debut even more special for you is the card itself, because I know a lot of guys from Strong Style will be on it. Chase Arcangelo already put pen to paper, and I know Miles Robinson, Walter Sisavain, they're trying to get on it as well. How excited are you to fight alongside teammates on December 16th?
John Cunningham, too. He put pen to paper. It's always fun fighting alongside Walker. That's been my boy since I first moved back up here from North Carolina. Then Miles, you see the trajectory he on, so even fighting against somebody like him, where like I'm pretty sure he UFC bound one day, and then fighting next to Chase, like one of the top amateurs in the whole state, as far as I'm concerned, and then fighting with my boy John, like it's gonna be his first fight with us. Like it's gonna be, it's just fun in general. I love fighting with my teammates.
And what's
the environment backstage and everything.
Yeah, I can imagine that the environment backstage is something else, but also what about the environment at Strong Style right now? So many big fights on the horizon. I'm sure there's a different energy to it, you know?
Well, yeah, everybody beating the hell out of each other. Never get tired of that. Yeah, like, cause we always, sparring for us is always kind of intense, but once camps, everybody start getting in camps, like, it's like, okay, now we hitting.
Yeah, and perhaps the biggest, I know a lot of fights are going down on December 16th for Strong Style, but the biggest one, of course, is Stipe Miocic going up against John Jones on November 11th for the UFC heavyweight title. How confident are you that Stipe will walk out of MSG as the new heavyweight champion?
I done put my money on Stipe plenty of times, and I'm going to do it again.
Yes, sir. I love it, man.
Without question.
I love it. I'm right there with you, man. Once again, this is Charlie Oneway Manson Payne with us on Forged in Ohio. By the way, where did the Oneway Manson nickname come from?
So the street I grew up on, like everybody calls it the One Way, and I just adopted it. I just made it my own. And then people used to call me Charlie Manson, like it was a random, like just a random nickname. People was calling me Charlie Manson, so then I just combined it.
Yeah, for sure. And was there music in the past for Oneway Manson, or am I mistaken there?
Yeah, I make music too. Like it's a hobby more so. I don't really take it that serious, but it's just for the fun of it. I'm on Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Music, all that stuff. So yeah, it's just a hobby. I love making music.
Gotcha, man. So just a few more for you. You're making your pro debut at 31 years old in December. Do you feel any more pressure with your age to kind of maximize what you have now and stay as active as you can to achieve some of your goals that I'm sure you have in MMA?
100%. Like once I had this fight, as long as my coaches say yes, I'm saying yes, and I'm trying to run them up. Like even just like Walt, he just fought September and going right back at it December. Like so, I'm trying to be on that same wave. Like maybe every 3 months, 4 months, I'm trying to get back in there because, your body only lasts so long. I'm already getting creaky.
So you imagine a pretty busy 2024 for you?
Definitely.
Man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm talking to a lot of amateur and pro fighters, and it sounds like 2024 is going to be a big one for you and a lot of guys I've had on here. Do you allow yourself to think big, though? And do you have many of those like big goals that you want to achieve now that you are a pro in mixed martial arts?
If I ever get to step foot in a UFC cage, that'd be just like, I wouldn't even know how to react to that. In all reality, hopefully, like that's the main goal. Cause I don't know how many years I got. So talk about being a champion one day or something like that. It's far fetched. Never know what could happen, but it's far fetched. But like just being able to step foot in the cage, like or any big promotion, like that's just if I could do that, then I won't be too upset. But my end goal is to be a coach. Like that's my heart. Like that's what I love to do even more than fighting. Like I love training and teaching because I remember what it did for me. I remember the trajectory I was on and then just getting lost in fighting. It was just like, okay, I ain't got time for anything else. Like I have to be like even partying and stuff like that. It's like, all right, yeah, but partying and stuff, but like all in all, like no risk in getting in trouble or doing none of that stupid stuff because I need to be able to be a fighter one day. Like and I know even my cousin as well, the one who brought me into it, like we both, it saved us in an aspect. And I love to do that for other people too because it's just like, some people don't grow up right. Some people got pent up aggression, and there ain't no better place to go than the gym when you got pent up aggression or you got traumas or anything else. Like the gym is the best place to be because you get to go actually let out all that aggression and then shake hands and be best friends with the person you just punched in the face. Like, can't beat that.
Yeah, I love that, man. Are you trying to open your own gym one day, or do you just really want to be a coach? Doesn't really matter where.
Eventually, one day, I like to have my own, but initially, like, I want to train here at the team and then actually be a part of the team, not just as a fighter, but as a coach as well. And then eventually down the line, like once I done honed in all of my, not just fighting skill, but honed in my coaching skill, because you don't want to just go out on your own and just be like, hey, I'm a coach, and then not have honed it in and taught so many, because I taught classes when I was in the Marine Corps. So, like, I used to, like, teach boxing classes and martial arts classes and stuff, but that's not like handling contracts, handling this, doing that, always being there with your fighters and traveling. And I want to hone all of that in before I actually go try to say that I'm going to do that for somebody. Like, I want to be able to actually do it, gain the experience, actually walk the walk in the first place.
And what was that experience like, teaching and coaching the sport to people in the Marines?
Oh, I loved it. It was super fun. Especially when people used to call me coach. I used to love that. It was always cool.
Just instantly earning everybody's respect, it sounds like.
Yeah, everybody knew who I was. Yeah, they do.
And as a competitor, reaching the UFC, having that big goal in mind, how far do you think you are away from actually being able to achieve that one day?
It's all about just honing all the skills in. Because, like, me competing against, fighting and training is two different things, but actually me, like, competing with some of the guys I do at practice and stuff like that, it's just like, I know I'm skilled enough in an aspect. Like, I got things I need to elevate in, but I know I'm skilled enough in aspect, and I know I can do it, but it's just right place, right time, right opponent a lot of times. But I might screw myself because I'm never gonna say no to nobody. But I know, like, just everything always has to come together. Like, if I would have never hurt my knee last year, where would I have been? Or if I would have never got hurt back in 2011, where would I be right now, 12 years later after fighting all that time? Like, so it's always just luck of the draw sometimes.
Yeah, you strike me as...
I feel I'm skilled enough.
Yeah, definitely. You strike me as a very positive guy. Do you ever let yourself think about, like, what would have happened if you didn't get hurt? Or are you very present mind, very positive, like I just said, as you continue on with your pro debut and the rest of your career?
I always think about it, but I also let it fuel me too. Like, I don't just think about it and be like, dang, man, if only I would have, because that's how bums think to me, and lazy people. They're like, oh, you know, if only this wouldn't have happened, I could have did it. Like, nah, get your ass up. Like, go do it still. You still got time. Like, don't be, you quitting. Like, I don't want to hear that if only stuff. You quit, all in all. Like, so I let it motivate me to be like, okay, it's just another challenge. Like, another demon to face, something else to beat, another opponent. Like, that's all it is.
Yeah, man, I think that's a great way to take it, and I'm very excited to see you in the cage December 16th, Canton Civic Center, Cage Thunder 25, you competing alongside a bunch of people there at Strong Style in your gym. Before we wrap up, anything you want to shout out or plug here on the back end of the podcast?
Want to shout out all my teammates and my coaches for helping me get to where I'm at. Want to shout out my little cousin Mujahid for even introducing the sport to me and getting me into it. Want to shout out my wife Ashlyn for always being supportive, and then want to shout out my daughter just for being my main driving force.
Yeah, well said, man. Thanks again, Charlie, for joining me on the show. I loved hearing your story, and I'm thrilled to see you alongside your teammates compete live in the Canton Civic Center on December 16th. Like I said, before I let you go, I always ask fighters to join me in doing the OHIO chant to end the show, so I'll ask you to do the same. OH!
IO!
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks again for joining me, man. I appreciate it. I wish you the best in December, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you for the platform, man. Appreciate you.
That was Charles Oneway Manson Payne, the former 6-4 amateur mixed martial artist who's preparing for the biggest fight of his life on December 16th in his pro debut. That will be Cage Thunder 25, which will take place inside the Canton Civic Center. Strong Style will be well represented on that card, and I'm beyond excited to see him alongside his teammates who I've also had on Forged in Ohio in the past compete that night. Thank you if you made it this far into episode 53 of Forged in Ohio. We're 1 year in, and while most podcasts crumble or most podcast hosts give up, that's not what this show is about, as you can expect new episodes every single Monday. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, then don't forget to download the episode and leave the show a good rating. Also head over to YouTube, search Forged in Ohio, and subscribe to the channel over there. You can search Forged in Ohio on both Instagram and Facebook as well to follow the show on socials. Thanks again for watching or tuning in. I've been your host, Jake Murren, and this was Forged in Ohio.